don't know what
our knowledge
educational
needs to
system
do
you all
is
are
come
talking
back
about.
and create
I don't know.
it for ourselves. I mean, Sandra, are your children who learn agriculture and all these skills, are they creating industries in your family for your descendants, for your
I'm one of her. I'm
or
one of
were they
Sandra's.
creating?
I'm one of Sandra's children. I'm an adult. I'll be 40 in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I didn't.
And I know you're
Yes, I
educated.
learned agriculture, but also in education because I have 3 degrees. I learned what my passion was,
We're
which
gonna
was
talk to you because we get ready to
pharmacology.
start some farming. So I'm gonna be calling you. Just like
I was taught farming once again and planting different plants and vegetables at home. My
mm-hmm.
mother taught us from preschool up. We planted peppers, different vegetables, lettuce, mint, basil, different things. We learned that at home.
There you go.
At home. And I agree with your children. It's not so much as teaching the children. First of all, let's just put it all out there. Homosexuality has been around forever, forever. The thing why it's being more implemented to say that it is okay in schools is because these kids were killing themselves. These kids were harming themselves because they didn't want to put it out there. And I'm a mother of 3. My youngest is 17. And before my kid decides to take their life or do something detrimental to themselves, I would rather them go ahead and let me know that they're gay.
But he's not saying that there's an issue with a child discovering who he or she is. He's saying that the schools are teaching the
I
children.
don't know what I haven't seen it in any curriculum. My
And,
son is
and
a
you won't
senior.
find it in the curriculum. That was a terrible lie that was put out there. And
I
No,
that's
no,
haven't
what,
seen it
no,
in any
Sandra, wait,
curriculum.
wait. I had an educator come on here.
But wait a
I had
minute.
an,
It's
I
not.
had
It's
an
not a
Terrible.
lie. It's not a lie at
Wait a
all.
minute. That was a terrible lie. Let me finish what the lie was. Stand down. There was a terrible lie put out there that it was going to be a mandated part of the curriculum.
Uh,
That was never the case in Illinois. That was never the case in any of the 50 states or any of its territories.
okay, I
And
see
I can
what you
tell you,
mean. Yeah,
it was not
yeah.
going to be mandated. Many of the schools, as a matter of fact, there were plenty of the North suburban schools, because that's when the woman here in Illinois, she went on her own personal tirade. But what they were proposing to do was to put the information out there, like she said, as a method of maybe making sure that these kids wouldn't do harm and making it more acceptable. And then they quickly learned that it wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't with the students. The problem was coming from the parents and the grandparents. They were the ones who were promoting the hate
Correct.
and
Yes.
spreading the ignorance.
Yep.
And again, getting into somebody's business that they shouldn't have gotten into. Now, the problem with people, now, my issue with education is that they're not preparing these kids to go to college. They're not something that Naima was talking about, be it agriculture, radiology, physiology, whatever. They're not preparing them because many of them, when they get to college, they don't even know how to study. And when those professors tell them, and they got 4 classes or it's 5 classes, and they tell them to come back from on that Monday, that Friday, that Wednesday, I need you to read these 5 chapters, and they get that from each class, they panic, they freak, and they decide to drop out. Now, that's a whole different thing that's going on with education when I see what we're not equipped with, or the fact that our kids read and do word recognition, but they don't understand what the words mean. They have no idea. So, yeah, there's stuff that we need to work on when it comes to education. But we were talking about trade and tariffs. And again, the tariffs on the goods and the products that we buy, which again has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. Somebody got their hand up. I don't know who.
And
Karen.
one of the things before we go to the next person, when it comes to production of things, not everything requires a college degree. So when you're talking about
Correct. Mm-hmm.
these fruit pickers and everything, that is essential part to the farming piece. You have to have people who are doing the work, and it doesn't always require a 4-year degree, but you do have to have some basic skills. I mean, things like the manufacture of homes and things like that. Skills that people need don't necessarily require a 4-year degree, but they do require training. And this is what Americans need to be prepared to do. If we're going to produce all that we need in-house and not have to import, then we need the skills.
And we're not going to do that. We're a global world now. We're a global economy. Nobody's going back to 1937. And until you get that out your head, you're going to always have a problem. We've been global forever.
People can be global and still be self-sufficient.
But us being self-sufficient, those who are not sufficient are those who don't want to be sufficient. Like we keep talking about, there is a thing out here called choice, free will. Absolutely. When you fail to send your kids to school, when you fail to get an education, and Wanda, we were talking about this. I can't remember the person's name, probably shouldn't say it, maybe before I can't remember their name. They have the audacity to say adults didn't need to go back to college. Wanda was going to get her PhD, and the conversation came up, and they were asking her why. Don't you know enough already? And see, Wanda said, "Yeah, she's gonna remember the person in a minute. Don't you know enough already? We're supposed to learn every day.
Absolutely.
When you get to the point where you no longer learn every day, and sometimes we learn new things about the things we think we already knew because they evolve. That's right. And when we're not doing that, then you're right. We're setting ourselves up for failure, and we're setting our kids and our grandkids and then any other generation up for failure.
That's true.
Karen got a hand up. I'm sorry, Karen.
Karen, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am wonderful, and everything I have heard thus far, I'm sorry I'm late, but thank you so much for speaking up for public education, because we cannot go anywhere without public education. Yes, private is going to be private. That there's nothing new. We know that there's nothing new, but for our world to have moved from agriculture now to literally robots and what have you, it took all of that change to happen. And so we're changing and we're moving, and the propaganda does hurt us. The propaganda makes us implode. So, go inside the school, engage your principals and assistant principals, see what these people are doing. Because there's a lot of folks working really hard. They are, Yeah, and I am an advocate for Chicago public schools and public education, period. Because if we don't advocate for those public places, then the rich people are always going to be able to dominate. You can buy a thought, you can buy a church, you can buy these things, you can buy the ideas of others,
Look, Leon, what is it? Elon Musk? Didn't he give somebody $1 million to vote for him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so you can buy whatever your money can afford.
Oh, but that didn't work. He spent that money in Wisconsin, and those people did not vote that way. He was giving them $100 a piece. And it did not work that way, because everybody cannot be bought. There are some people, and he tried to give that money to that female basketball coach, and like she told him, keep it. Everybody can't be bought. Stand on integrity.
Come on now.
And that's our biggest problem, because again, we don't stand on integrity. We don't see the future. We don't see beyond right now.
Yeah.
And we're not telling our kids, anything worth having, you have to work for. And you're not going to get it. It's not going to come easy. I, too, am an advocate for public education. That one right there went to public school, and everyone behind her is going. And that little bitty one, we're sending her to public school, too. But at the same time, as Wanda and Margot and I have been talking about with the Board of Ed, there's enough degrees. My children, if I just use my 3 children, and I can stand down, I ain't got to get in it at all. My 3 children can not only educate their kids all the way up and out of high school and help them with college, they can turn around and help others. I mean, and that was something that was purposeful. That was purposeful. Ooh. And this has been generational. Because that's the thing that held my people back. My people, my family, my grandmothers, great-grandmothers said they were always held back because they couldn't read, because they didn't have an education. Some of them were held back there a little bit because they're colored, but they had a whole lot of them real light folks in the family. And they they got opportunities that some of the brown ones didn't get. But some of the brown ones were so well liked.
Sandy, you know what though? The kids are so smart, you need a degree to talk to them. And we're talking about it. You need a degree to talk to these people because they are so amazing. I'm telling you.
Ladies, let's Mike's got his hand up. Let's go to Mike, and then Grady, you look like you had something to say, and then Dr. Spivey will come back to you. Mike.
My thing is, and again, I've taught for the city colleges. And my issue isn't with necessarily the church. My issue is with the funding for the programs and what we get. And I'm talking about at the city colleges. We're in because I'm still learning. I'm still doing it. And there's no reason for me to be in Python and the city colleges is still teaching Cobalt.
Right.
Cobalt was before GUI. And I know I'm talking over everybody's head, but that's kind of like someone saying, well, you're just a carpenter. You don't, that's a lie. I have to know physics to make you a winding staircase so you don't trip falling down because the stairs have to be spaced. That has to be measured. That has to be, there are mathematical formulas. It's not a get a hammer and some nails and you can make it. And people really aren't looking at that. The second part, robotics is not new. For the last couple of years, I say for 15 years, I worked for the carnival. And people go, you working at the carnival? Oh, well, those are some of the richest people I know. And I will say this because one guy was mad because at one spot, that little gang, they're getting away from the robotics, but I'm not going to go there. All of those rides utilize hydraulics, pneumatics, air compressors, gas, and it's all powered by a Cummins diesel engine. It behooves us to stop wanting to make super athletes and look into what is around us that we really need every day. Because that arm that takes that ride up and down is that robotic arm that's building the cars. It's no different. It really isn't no different. And to say that, oh, is that we'll go spend money on the rides. We'll go get our kids one of these. I don't know if you can see it, but nobody says to the kids, well, instead of buying it and it's just a hobby, you can make $3,000 an hour surveying a construction site. We have to change, like everybody is saying, we have to change what we're thinking and what we're saying. And I ran into this at the city colleges. I'm not going to talk about the person, but I got pissed because Wanda sent me to cover a story. And the black man got up and said, these kids can't learn. That was about the saddest moment in my life. And then they had the audacity to be like, well, how? He was in a class of 10, maybe one or two will graduate. Versus when I started teaching in a class of 10, 9 or 10 would graduate. And it's little things like, yes, I know math to the point where if a student wasn't getting it, what you been doing? It may not be a good thing, but that's what his life is about. I've been selling drugs. Okay, so 8/16, the drug world numbers, and you're doing it in your head. Let me show you how that applies to framing these walls. And then she's right, the students catch on, but you got to have somebody that knows, okay, I got to talk to them in this language. I got to talk to that person in this language. I had one student, and I was like, how did you get in here? Because I would keep testing him. I ran into that issue. But he had a photographic memory. The second time he took the test, he memorized all the answers. And what I told him was that wasn't a bad thing. What he should look into is architecture. We have to look at the students like we look at the people that's policing the teachers, like the people that are policing our areas. Everybody had a PhD in theology to get $100,000 a year as a teacher. Versus, and I would ask them, what's your thesis in theology? Well, how are you over calculus? And I'm not poking those people because I haven't been in there. I've been in there. In the Air Force, I had 8 weeks to learn how to build a house. The carpentry program that they're suggesting, it takes 2.5 years.
All right. Grady, you had something to say?
Hold on.
Stop.
Am I muted or unmuted? What is it?
I can hear you.
I like the agriculture part of this. I think Naima was saying that's exactly what we can everything, I just think like this. If everything shut down, like the grocery stores and all of that, we should be able to say, okay, well, I got some greens growing in my backyard. I got some apples and oranges, whatever, and we might have to go back to bartering like we used to.
Well, I do believe that we will evolve into a whole different economic system that is more aligned with everybody participating and everybody bringing their skills and talents. So in order for it to work, everybody needs to have a skill or a talent. Even those of us who are college educated, if you have an education and yet you're still dependent on someone else deciding whether or not they want to pay you, then that education did not empower you. So our education has to empower us to take care of ourselves. It has to empower us to be able to think and create systems that empower the community. If you cannot feed yourself, if you cannot house yourself, if you cannot clothe yourself, if you don't have basic skills that do that, then whatever you learn is not going to help you become the powerful person you should be once you've received an education. So that's what we can create, and that's what this breakdown is going to force us to create, because we're not going to be able to be dependent on other people taking care of us anymore. And we're grown people, so we shouldn't be dependent on people to take care of us. We need to plan to take care of ourselves.
Okay, now that's a mouthful right there. I agree with that.
Can I say something, Auntie Wanda?
Absolutely, sweetie. What do you want to say?
So coming, and maybe this is my generation. That's not being realistic, right? So we're talking about
reality is what you make it.
Right here, right now. Right, we're talking about right here, right now. What can be done right now? We don't have. There's not time for people to go in the backyards.
Yeah,
and
there
start
is.
planting things.
Are you the one in the agricultural field?
I'm not in the agricultural field. I'm in the pharmacology field.
Okay.
But that's not likely. It is not possible for a lot of people to go and plant things. Some people don't have anywhere to plant anything. So you have to so telling people this is what they need to, that's not helping right now. That's not helping with the tariff situation right now. I beg
to differ.
That's not helping with not being able to
can't see it, you can't be it. And then when one thing, when
wait, don't cut me off. Don't cut me off. I let you speak. Don't cut me off.
You're the future, so we need you to see it, because you're the one gonna make it happen. Also,
as they stated, a lot of things that we get from other countries cannot even be grown here.
That's true.
So how does that work? How does that work?
Well,
we can't magically make the environment worthy of growing the items and different stuff that can grow here.
That's true.
So you have to be realistic and telling people, oh, you need to be able. That's not the reality of the situation right now. That's not the reality of the situation. You basically have to work with what you got right now.
So
how do you see?
I understand the belief that urban-born children may have.
So you're gonna say,
I had that same understanding.
You got 75 days to go out there and learn how to build a house. That's not even realistic.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But if you don't believe it, Now we saw people during the pandemic when they couldn't, when they saw the shelves getting empty, they ran out and what did they do? Hoard toilet paper. Was that intelligent? No. But we do things when we don't know any better. Because if you know that your stores are going to be closing and you're going to be food.
So that's what you do. You get the information out there. You put that information out there. You also, this also comes within learning within the home.
Can I come in, guys? Can I come in? I think there's a balance that we have to get here. My name is Chinwela Bechi.
Thank you, Chewy. I was going to ask you to introduce yourself. Go on.
A faith-based Afro entrepreneur. I think both of you, what we just, especially the last two conversations, we just. My little baby sister, we just need to strike a balance, okay? You guys are pointing out really good stuff. And COVID should have taught us a lesson. You are a pharmacology, and she's not saying you shouldn't stop there. And what you're asking is, what can we be doing now? She's saying, as a pharmacology, when it comes down to it, your basic skill is what's going to save you in this world.
Yes.
If you see how Africans have been attacked, in the root of the country or continent or outside, the basic skills has always, if I can tell you how much I have utilized it to survive, I can't even tell you. But baby sister, you need it. When all comes to push to shove, pharmacology is not going to feed you because they're going to fire your butt. And then what you're going to do? But if you have a farm or you go help somebody out in the farm to be able to do, you're going to get veggie. You're going to get something. When you have your basic stuff, you can survive. That's what the basic thing we're talking about right here. Now,
and I understand that. And I'm not negating that you don't need basic skills.
Okay. But I love what you brought up. I love what you brought up. What can we do now?
Pharmacology is not my only skill. Pharmacology is what I have my degrees in.
Okay.
That's not the only thing I'm able to do.
You're in agreement with sister earlier. I think it's not something we need to kind of like, attack each other. I think we're bringing out
I'm not attacking. No,
yeah, so many good areas.
I'm simply speaking my piece. I let everyone else speak. I'm stating that's not my only skill. She brought up COVID. I didn't have to get prepared for COVID because another skill I have, I'm a couponer. I was already prepared. My house was already stockpiled. Stockpiled. I don't have to get prepared because I've been a couponer for 20 years. So I didn't have to run out.
Not a lot of people in your generation are like that. So many people are out there are like, we still have the mindset. Remember, 400 years of slavery and colonization has not gone away from us. So many of us are still in the mindset, give me, help me, tell me what to do. And who are they asking all these things? The same person that doesn't want them to stand up on their own.
But now this is what I love to see for the pharmacology industry, because all of the pharmaceuticals are derived from natural plants. And what we did in the class that we took starting in 2020 was to teach people how to recognize medicinal plants instead of, in their ignorance, thinking they're weeds and unusable, but learning how these plants are actually for our benefit. So if we learn these things, then instead of us having to pay money that we don't have when we're ill, we can be growing that which the pharmaceutical products are derived from, and we can therefore heal ourselves as our great grandparents knew how to do.
Well, I'm gonna tell you,
have to go that far.
I've had my hand up for a minute.
Can help us to
we
develop.
don't even have to go to that degree. We can start with the simple things like the back of the banana, the back of the orange, and it's simple things. We don't even have to go that higher in terms of, but it is good. The greens that we eat, the greens that we need to be eating, we've eaten so much junk today that we don't even realize that we are the one, we're allowing ourselves to allowing them to kill ourselves.
But that is not going to fix everyone's situation. That's not going to fix everyone.
The re-education of the Negro and Africa is across board. That's all I can tell you. It's not one area.
So you guys are once again putting information out there that's not realistic. So
no, but it is realistic. We're saying it's about time that we re-educate ourselves in every aspect.
Yes, but you
Not
can't
hope
cure
for
yourself. Everything not curable from a plant.
Everything is curable.
everything is,
Not
baby.
from a plant.
Everything. Your body is not
Okay.
If you
fixing to
don't
do
know
it
it, that means
the
you
way we
haven't
are allowing
discovered
it.
it yet.
Okay,
Everything.
Ma'am, I know
What
what
All
you're
right,
saying.
hold
Everything
on,
is
hold on, ladies.
curable.
Oh,
So,
You're not
but
Somebody
I
needs
study,
to
supposed to
I
take
know
throw
what
away the
control,
mental
back of
please.
argument.
anything.
somebody needs to
From the
take
seeds
control.
of
Ladies.
avocado
Ladies,
to
let's
the
not get
back
into
of
an
the
argument.
avocado to the back of orange to the back of banana, everything is for your body.
Everything is not curable from a plant.
See,
I guarantee you.
that's what I'm saying. And you got to re-educate yourself, baby.
Well, hold
Oh no,
on,
I don't.
hold
No,
on,
ma'am. I
Single
have 3
thing.
degrees. I don't have to
hello,
re-educate myself.
Wanda. I've had my hand up for
I
15
just
minutes. Go ahead.
said, Sandra. I just said, Sandra.
Okay.
Now, wait a minute. Okay, I agree with the gentleman that whatever he said. Stand down, somebody stand down. First of all, no, everything is not curable. That's why people are still dying. Stop. Common sense.
You're dying
If
is
they,
because you don't know
no,
better.
stop. That's not true.
One
Learn,
at
Naima,
a
instead of
time,
saying something
please.
stop.
can't
One
be
at a
Some
done,
time,
people
please.
listen
eat
to those who
perfectly,
know.
Naima.
Sister's
Some
giving
people
you
have
knowledge and
eaten
you're not listening to
perfectly
her.
and are still dying. They're still dying. They're sitting over here in Northwestern University Hospital now. Perfect weight, perfect everything. They still got cancer. That's not true. But anyway,
Cancer is curable. It's been cured a long
anyway,
Oh
time
my
ago.
God.
Just because you
anyway,
But
don't know
how are we
something doesn't
getting
mean
the
it doesn't
cancer,
exist.
baby?
anyway,
How are we
If you
that's
getting
not
don't
the
what we
know,
were
it's
how are we
talking
learn.
getting
about.
the
Don't say
cancer,
something doesn't
sister?
exist.
Wait a minute.
Learn who
Stop. That's
knows.
not what we were talking about. Again, I'm trying to get back on the topic.
Okay.
Y'all need to have y'all cure-all and y'all vegetable garden on another show. What
Well,
we
you
were
know
talking
what? You
about
can
was
die because of
tariffs,
ignorance, or you can listen to people who have
Not
wisdom.
Margot.
What you want to do?
Naima.
But
Margot's
not
gonna tell
knowing
you how,
doesn't mean something
Wanda.
doesn't
She
exist.
will
Don't put
call in,
out
but she's driving.
disinformation.
Where's
Just
Margaret?
because you don't
Naima,
know something,
you
don't put
don't
out
have the
Wanda,
floor.
disinformation.
Wanda,
If
Wanda.
you don't know,
Naima,
then learn from those who
Naima,
do.
Oh,
Naima, you don't have the floor.
Rhonda,
You don't
you
have
should
the
have
floor.
the control to
you
You
know
don't
what,
have the
Karen?
floor.
I mean, it's
These are
okay to disagree, but
adults.
don't put out
I
disinformation.
can't
This is
make
like in
anybody stop
Naima, you
talking.
still don't have the floor. You can raise your hand after I finish that. I'm talking about, I'm going back to the
but
tariff.
you're saying things
I
that are
don't,
untrue,
Naima,
Sandra.
like I said, y'all
You're
can
not
have
you're
y'all
in
not
a
helping.
discussion.
democracy. You can do that. You can do
That's
that.
true.
It's a free country.
You can have your
Yeah.
discussion at another
That's
time.
true.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right now
Yeah,
we were
it
talking
makes sense.
about
It makes sense.
tariffs.
Let's go
And
back to the tariff.
my question
But
was for Mike, if he's still on here.
Mike, are
Mike,
you still here?
Mike, are you still here? Because he was
Mike,
here a minute ago.
Probably not, because y'all is
And I
I'm
want to.
here. I'm here. I was just
y'all
letting
acting
all
like
of y'all air it out.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Mike. Now
Y'all
I
got
want
heated.
when you were talking about while you were in the military, and again how you were saying how the dollar, the fact that the dollar had more power and more value in these other places, and in part that was due because of the fact of it being stronger, was because of the trade that goes on. What I wanted, Mike, what I was waiting and trying to say again was to play the role that you all may not be aware of what tariffs do. It also makes sure that when our men and women in the military and those who are also support their services, because they do have civilians that are at these military bases,
Right.
and there's housing, they buy food, they have cars, they have other things they contribute to where they are in that economy because of the various trade agreements that we have, and they're global. We have military bases in Japan. We have military bases in what is it, South Vietnam, because North Vietnam is the bad guys. We got military bases in Cambodia, Guam, everywhere.
I've been in the Antarctic and the Arctic.
And in places in Africa, we have a presence. So all of that plays a role in how we do with our taxes, as these tariffs are, how we tax their goods and how they tax our goods, as well as how they treat our people who are over there. The last thing you want to do is, because of unfair tariff, is to cause some kind of uprising against America, because these goods, now we may have to pay a bigger price if we can pay a larger price, or like Naima says, we just don't buy it. But when it comes to the point where they're calling it now a trade war, and those people over there, because they depend on that just as much as we do, even though their salaries are not the same, when they can't go to work and they can't feed their families, they're going to be angry. They don't have the same kind of, oh, let's get along, or we're going to turn around and talk about this and let's do a little kumbaya. They're going to look at, again, Americans, and they're going to go after our people. So having these irresponsible tariffs that, again, that don't bring anything to the economy, because it's not just he's raising Taxes, this is a back and forth. 25% here. Okay, you raise mine 25, I'm gonna raise yours another 15. Okay, he gonna raise 15, I'm gonna raise another 25. Then, like he said, Canada says we're gonna turn the power off. How about that?
Okay. Teresa, thank you for that, Sandra. We got Teresa TJ Hughes on. Can you introduce yourself? And we're talking about tariffs.
No, I'm just, you already said who I am. I'm just listening.
Okay. Dr. Spivey, I'm going to come back to you because we're at the end of the show, and I'd like for you to take us out with your rationale on what the World Court is saying about tariffs. Just put it out there so everybody knows. Dr. Spivey, are you still there? Okay, I guess maybe not. So, in closing, ladies and gentlemen,
Excuse me.
Oh, you still there? Okay, Dr. Spivey. Did you have a closing statement for us?
Yes, and thank everybody for participating in this gathering that needs to be done more often. And we need to come away with something that has substance in your life's journey. Because what's taking place right now, we are no longer, and I say to my family, and I call you my family, because that of which we come together in one perspective of life, there is no difference from not one of us. We were created in the likeness of the Creator. He's not talking about your vessel, he's talking about your spirit. And once we get a hold of that, then we can all come together. Has no shape, no size, no color. Spirit. We walk in spirit. We were created in spirit. We keep walking around talking about black and white. There is no such thing. Those that we keep calling white, they are Caucasoids. We are the melanated indigenous aborigines from this continent, Turtle Island, that we keep calling America. And I said to you earlier, look these things up so then it belongs to you.
Thank you.
Malcolm X coined a phrase. We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and ran amok. And we don't know it. We keep walking in that headset. We are the only ones walking on this planet with 7 different identities, and not one of them is relative to you. You're not black. You're not colored. You're not African American. Africa is a continent, and there's 54 countries in that continent, and not one of them over there call themselves African. They're either going to say they're Nigerian, Ethiopian. We keep walking around in something that is not relative to the journey of life. This is a good gathering, Wanda.
Thank you, sir.
Structure. We need structure. When you put structure in place, things move before a purpose. Everyone's opinion about what it is, we are no longer in maritime. Look that up, maritime. We were born in maritime. And when you go look it up, then you will see exactly what I'm saying. From birth, each one of, if you were born in a hospital, the hospital took that birth certificate and sold it to the government, which makes the government your parent. That's why all of these things that they tell you that you better do, it's called parent patriarchy.
That's what I wanted you to say, Dr. Spivey. Thank you. Now, would you define for us what parent patriarch is?
Well, in that Constitution, it says that in the republic for which it stands, how did we get from that? How did we get from that to this other thing we keep walking around saying that means nothing? We are from the republic, and we are the indigenous aborigines from this continent that they came, when they first came here, they said there was 1 million Indians here. They were talking about us, y'all. The ones we think are Indians are Mongolians. Look it up.
Mongolians. Okay.
So when we start identifying ourselves in the correct form, watch and see the respect that you're going to get in the attention, because now you know what they don't want you to know. We are the owners of this continent. All the land belongs to the indigenous aborigines that were already here. You ever hear that conversation? Y'all need to go back where you came from. Excuse me, where did y'all come from? Because we were already here. We were already here, family. Look it up. And the real name to this continent is Turtle Island. We keep calling it America. It is not.
And we are not African Americans, because you can't be from two continents. America
and you better
and Africa.
You need to say that again.
You can't be from two continents. So we're not African Americans. Look it up.
And that was,
But America
and that
is
was,
not a continent,
and that
it's a
was
country.
coined. That phrase was coined by our beloved brother Jesse Jackson, and he got paid from the government to make that claim. They also paid Mr. James Brown for making that song, "I'm Black and I'm Proud." You better stop it. Black is a color that belongs in the crown box. And when we start to realize all of this, we keep calling our children kids. A kid is a baby goat in the physical. In the spiritual, it's called Baphomet, which is the demon devil goat.
So we be calling our kids demon devils?
You better know it. Look it up.
Call them children, which they are. So
you either have a child
I
or
knew you were gonna wake
children.
it up, Dr. Spivey. I was waiting for you to come on.
No, because I listen to my family, and I hear the things that we are saying. But I'm not putting finger and blaming shame on no one. It is because it is the way it was. We've been indoctrinated to keep walking around in that fog. And they loving it, because then they know that you don't know who you are.
That's exactly right.
We've been identified as 7 different concepts. Now, I want to know, which one are you? Because we keep walking around.
I'd like to ask Dr. Spivey a question about something he said earlier, and I know we've got to go, but he said something about the new earth, and we've been talking about that every day for the last 9 days. What is his vision on where the earth is going based on the transformation that's happening now?
The earth is where it has always been. The ones that has hijacked it put the coin of the unknown. The new earth is that we are now in Nasara Gasara. Meaning the world has changed.
You said Nasara Gasara?
Gasara is the world. Nasara is this continent. And there is a difference of what that is. And it means that, one, we are no longer in that space that we grew up in. All of the planets have realigned. Look up in around between 4 and 5. Look up in the sky and see that the sun is more brighter than at 5 or 6 than it is at noontime. All of the planets have realigned themselves.
And the earth has shifted its axis.
Say again?
And the earth has shifted its axis. It happens every 2,000 years.
Wait, you some kind of second genius or something, Michael?
I was in the Air Force and Navy. I've been all over this planet, and I had to study. As a kid, I studied things that a lot of people. I was always on punishment.
And that's what the government. That's what the government will do for you. You get it. That's what being part of the government will do for you.
Mike.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes, sir.
with all due respect, you were never a kid. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and you look these things up, etymology, look it up, study words. And I've been in studying for the last 50 years of my journey. My passion is music, the universal language, the frequency and vibration of that music has launched me into the global world reset as the ambassador to 198 countries from the World Court. Look these things up. The World Court is being directed by the ad hoc justice Hindu I.L. Henderson. Look it up.
Well,
He's
Dr. Spivey, you did it again. You brought us to the close, and I'm looking at how many of us are left on the set. And that says to me that we're the ones that really understand what's going on in the world. And we have to share it with, it's our obligation to share it with the others, even those that won't listen. We still gotta tell them.
That, what you just said, Wanda, is the essence of life. First, we have to regain love. We were created in love. We walk around with venom coming out of our mouth and have no idea why. Because I want you to know, when you speak something negative, it comes right back to you because you spoke it. In the beginning was the word, and when it was spoken, all things were created. We were created in the likeness of the Creator, family. Look it up. There's nothing called religion. That was man's concept to keep us separated. Religion, no, there is no such thing. We are the spirits that was created by the Creator in his likeness. The spirit, no shape, no size, no color. We keep walking around. We were indoctrinated backwards. We say it that way. Backwards. The correct way is the right hemisphere of the anatomy, the right side of the brain. Put you in the right perspective that activates that pineal gland that gives you the third eye. Elevation is the spirit that walks on this planet. When I hear my family do that traditional thing, happy birthday, you were born once. You elevate from there. I'm telling you things that I've been attached to. I don't know everything, but the things that I do know, I will share it with you because it means nothing to give it away because it wasn't given to me to hold on to.
All right. Thank you.
Wanda, I thank you for the invitation, and I pray my family receives something with wisdom. And again, anything that you've heard me say this evening, please go look it up.
Thank you.
First start with your straw man. It's attached to that movie that was it. All the movies that we've been watching for humor, entertainment, is telling you the story of the journey. The Wizard of Oz was created back in the 30s. Here's another one. Look this up. In 1933, the U.S. went bankrupt.
Yep.
I read that. Yes, I did. The U.S. went bankrupt.
Now, I mentioned before, there's two Americas.
See, I was waiting for you to say that. Two Americas.
When you hear that word U.S., they're not talking about this continent. You're hearing about the corporation that was created to instill that of which, and I said earlier, from birth, your parents did not know that birth certificate, and it's not the real birth certificate. If you want to make sure, go ask for the real live birth certificate. In the name, Any documents that you have in your possession, that name that you were given is in all capital letters. Does anybody in this family write their name in all capital letters? Help me out.
Help them out.
In my corporation,
That name that you were given, when you see it, now I'm gonna share this with you. In the music industry, when you create something, you put a copyright on it, and it belongs to you. And if anybody uses it without your permission, you get the right to sue them. It is the same thing with your birth certificate. If anybody uses that name without your permission, you can sue them from $10,000 to $100,000 a day. Watch out, family.
Watch out. Come on now. Come on.
Look it up.
Look it up. Look it
That
up.
is your intellectual, that name is your intellectual property. Again, if anybody uses it, when you get mail, let me help you out. When you receive mail, and that mail has that little window where that name pops up, and that name that you were given is all capital letters, what they just showed you that person is dead. Look up your straw man, meet your straw man, and that will help you out in your journey. Go to YouTube and say, meet my straw man, and watch and see what pops up.
This brother's definitely sharing a lot of insight. I know I must depart, but it's definitely been invigorating, and I certainly urge everybody to watch the show again. I guess it'll be on Can TV. What date should we look for it?
Look, this show finna come out right away because this has been a real interesting, invigorating show. I mean, I loved you guys getting into the meat of the conversation. You wasn't letting your grounds down, and Sandra was gonna hold her wheel. And
you know, me and Sandra do this all the time. We're iron sharpens iron, so that's what we do.
Next time, don't tell if they ain't got no dirt, tell them hydroponics.
There you go. I'm growing carrots in my front yard. I mean, my living room right now in a bowl of water. So yeah, you can always grow something.
Excuse me, Wanda, if I may, please.
Yes, sir.
As my family go research these things that I've said this evening, put in that there's research chemtrails.
Chemtrails. Okay.
That's what caused the pandemic. It was chemtrails that they sprayed all over the world. When you see the planes flying in the air and they leaving those white trails, that is poison, family. It's called chemtrails. So you now have a name for what you're witnessing.
Thank you.
And as you're doing that, I want you to go look up HAARP. That was a mechanism that was created to change the weather. So this weather that you're witnessing is purposely creating it. They can make tornadoes, earthquakes, anything that you can't even imagine.
Can they make hail?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Because we had hail today for about 2 minutes. And then we got rain.
Well, here's what I'm saying. So the mystery will relieve you as quick as you can say your name. HAARP. And it's going to tell you exactly what it does.
They even have a website.
They have a website?
Yep.
Bring it up, Mike. I got it where you can show us.
How?
You can just click send it to let's see. Click on share at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me see, which one is this?
All this crazy weather that we have experienced in the last couple of months was purposely created. That of what they did in North Carolina, South Carolina, was purposely created by this apparatus.
Okay. There you go. You got it, Mike. There we go. So can you make it bigger?
I can't see it.
You can't see it?
No.
I see it. Let's see if I can help you out some. I don't know. There you go. I just did that. Okay, there we go.
You made it bigger?
Yeah. The high frequency active Aurora Research Program is a scientific initiative aimed at studying the ionosphere, which is the ionized part of the Earth's upper atmosphere. Wow. HAARP has been the subject of various conspiracy theories with claims that it can control the weather or manipulate minds. However, these theories have been debunked by scientists
They want you to think it's debunked.
Huh?
They want you to keep thinking it's debunked.
Right.
That's like certain music. Hip hop was in a different frequency than gangster rap. Gangster rap is written in waltz. Waltz is war music.
Whoever just said that, I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
That's Mike. All right. Well, hey, everybody have a good evening. We had a great show, and I'll get it out there as soon as I can.
Okay. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Dr. Spider.
Have a blessed night, family. Have a blessed night.
Good night, everybody.